Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. No proper video this week unfortunately. I just haven't had the time to come in here and do anything really. Just been busy with the old day job, which unfortunately you've got to do, haven't you, to keep the pennies flowing in. But a few bits and pieces have happened, so I'll get the camera over here and we'll have a look and see what's been going on. But it will be more of a workshop catch-up than a workshop video. Yeah, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. We can only do what we can do. So let me get you in a bit closer and show you what's been going on. Right, so we appear to be looking at Arrow leader crankcase, fairly grotty, and you're probably thinking, well, I thought he cleaned his crankcase up, and I did. This is another one. Came as a bit of a job lot, and I thought, well, I wanted another case, because it is all one piece. I did want another crankcase because I want to do some modifications. So I basically want to build a standard and want to mess around with. I've been talking to a chap called Jess, real name Roger, who is big on the aerial two-strokes in the aerial club, and he's got a lot of the prototype engines and the stuff that was used for racing and tuning and all that kind of stuff. And there's all kinds of weird and wonderful modifications that were done, and I'm really interested in that. So I thought I'll buy another case if one comes along at the right price, effectively to mess around with and see if we can replicate some of those modifications. So that's what this is. As you can see, it needs a run through the squeaky cleaner, so I'm going to have to clean that out and take all the studs out so that we can dump it in there. And but it's, you know, it's in good condition. It's in really good condition, quite frankly. I think it might actually be better than the other one that I've got. So that's that. That came as a job lot, and it had a crankshaft in it, or a pair of crankshafts, which are here. As ever with these crankshafts, not in their first bloom of youth. They do have some problems, they do have some issues, but they're sort of, well, better in places, worse in places than the crankshaft that I've already got. So if they don't yield any useful spares, they will at least be useful for practicing on when it comes to boring out for the new pins. And I actually think that they're recoverable, to be honest with you. So, you know, we might be able to make two decent pairs of crankshafts, and if not, we might be able to use some of the bits to service my crankshafts and Tweedy's crankshafts, because I know on Tweedy's this keyway's completely bludgeoned, so, you know, we might be able to use this crankshaft half to fix his crankshaft. The only problem is the bearing is a rattly fit on it, which is quite common, I think, with these engines. This centre bearing takes a lot of force because it supports both halves, and they do tend to wear. So yeah, that would need some attention, but, you know, not beyond recovery, I don't think. So it came with those. It came with a good primary side crankcase door, and it came with a rather repaired ignition side crankcase door. And obviously this is, I think what's probably happened in the past is someone's tried to remove it without the puller and literally smashed it, because it's cracked all the way around, and they've had a bit of a go at welding it and obviously got a run out of it, but yeah, the crack is, it's cracked all the way around there. It's cracked to some of the bolt holes. It's cracked right through there, and it doesn't line up very well. You know, when they welded it back together, it didn't quite go back where it was supposed to be. So junk, but at least the circlet's recoverable. So, you know, it's not a total loss, is it? But yeah, that's junk. But largely, I just wanted the crankcase anyway. So that's arrived this week. What else have we got? What else have we got? Let me just move you. Right, rather than moving you, I'll move the bits. So, Gearbox. this gearbox came up in my saved searches, and it was silly money. I would say probably about 70% of a full gearbox, with an extra cover thrown in for good measure. So because it was so cheap, I bought it, and I don't need any gearbox spares at the moment, or at least I don't think I do, but you just never know, do you? And Tweedy hasn't gone into his gearbox yet, so maybe he might need something. Anyway, for the price that it was, I thought, well, we might as well have it. So there we go. We've got best part of a gearbox and an extra cover as well. So that came in this week. So that all needs a bit of a look at and a bit of a clean and putting away, just in case we need it. So yeah, not really done much with it because I haven't had much time. I really just took it out of the box, had a look at it, and stuck it on the bed. Right, so continuing on with the saga then. Last weekend, Tweedy was on his way to come and do a bit of work in the workshop. We were going to take the Lambretta crank apart, but he broke down, and I think I've already told you this in the last video. Yeah, he got stranded by the side of the road on his way to my house, so that wasn't very good for him really. Had to get recovered, and he'll tell you all about that, I'm sure, in an upcoming video, because he's been spending this week fixing his car, which thankfully he's been able to do. But I won't steal his thunder. You'll have to watch his video and find out what happened to him and what he's been doing. But anyway, long and short of it is, he didn't come and we didn't strip down the Lambretta crank that Mark kindly lent us, Team Pacemaker. But we've come to a decision, and the decision is, we were talking on the telephone yesterday, and we've decided that I'm going to forge ahead with the with doing one of my aerial cranks, or at least trying to. Initial measurements on Mark's connecting rod, without actually stripping it down, are looking fairly favourable. I did contact a company that sells new Lambretta rod kits, and I asked them for some specifications, and they kindly provided, and I think that we can probably do something with it. So to that end, because Tweedy has been concentrating on his car and wants to crack on with his Scott motorbike project, we've decided that I'm going to press ahead with the aerial cranks, and he's going to kind of catch up and sort of see what I've done and do the same with his. So to that end, I'm going to order a Lambretta rod kit from the company that I mentioned, and when it comes, I'm going to have a go at fitting it to this crank. We're going to have to bore out the holes for the crank pin, because the Lambretta one is considerably larger, as you can see, a couple of mil bigger. It's probably a mil per side, or just over a mil per side bigger, and I think I mentioned in a previous video that there isn't much in it for boring out before we start hitting the shafts. However, I think there's just about enough, and one of my viewers, Chris, who is very knowledgeable, very experienced, he said, well, you might not have to bore all the way through. You might be able to just bore and just, leave half a mil or so at the end to put your pin in, and you'll still have enough grip range. And I think he's probably right. But when the pin comes, we'll have a look at it, and if we can get away with boring all the way through, we'll do it. And if we can't, we'll just go part the way through. But the problem that we have is obviously machining them concentrically, and this is why I think we probably are going to have to go all the way through, because to machine them concentrically, really, we need to lock the two halves of the crankshaft together and bore them in one sitting, bore them in one operation. So we need a fairly long boring bar. Let me just grab one. Have I got one? Yes, I have. up here on the shelf. So yeah, fairly long boring bar so that we've got the reach, and so that we can clear the shaft with the boring head, because when that's all the way through there, you know, the boring head's going to be in the way. So unless we do it that way up, that gives us a little bit more room for manoeuvre to get the boring head in. So yeah, that is the plan at the moment, and obviously we'll have to have it raised up off the milling machine bed, so we're going to have some blocks underneath it to lift it up so that we don't foul on here, or we don't foul on here, depending on which way we're going to do it. And I thought that to lock them together, we could use these holes here. So let me just grab some measuring tools and I'll show you what I mean. Right, we'll do some rough and ready measuring just to get the idea, and just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking. We need to lock these two together. The problem we've got is that they're not, obviously they're scalloped, you know, they've got the cutaway, so we've got that problem to deal with. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that these surfaces here are nice and flat, and they're not, you know, convex, or they haven't got any sort of raised edges or dinks in them. And then we need to clamp these together, and then accurately, or as accurately as we can, measure the gap, so that we can make something. We can make a bridging piece to go in there and stop that from happening. Then what we need, I think, is some sort of a clamping system that we can use these two holes, these two lightning holes, to clamp the two halves together. And I'm thinking of like a top hat. You know, I love a top hat that fits in there, goes through here, into here, probably half or 3/4 of the way into here, and then we have on this side another top hat that goes in there and meets the first piece, and then we've got a hole through, and we're threaded, and we can bolt them together, and that will clamp. And we'll do that with both holes, and that should clamp these two halves, something like that, but obviously with the top hat on it, and then similar in there. Clamp the two pieces together, and then we can, you know, make some fine adjustments, get these two holes perfectly concentric, clamp the two bits obviously onto the milling table, and then go in there with our boring bar and open out the holes. So that's the preliminary plan anyway. These are about 1 inch, I think, these holes. I've run a ball hone through because they were all rusty and disgusting, and they're very rough. You can see that I think they were, well, the camera might not pick that up, but I think they were just drilled, quite frankly, when they were made. Then, you know, they weren't finished in any way. They were just, it looks like they just put a drill bit through. But I think they're about 1 inch. Without clamping it in the vise, we'll just take a very rough measurement, compare a couple. Just using the caliper. Yeah, just over 1 inch, look. Let's do one on here. And hopefully they're not a million miles apart from each other. Which will give us, hopefully, enough accuracy to clamp them together, but enough wiggle room to set it up so that we can, well, that's 1018. What are they getting the other one? 1045. It seems like quite a discrepancy. Let's just try it again. I mean, it may be that they're all over the place, you know, that they're that rough that there's quite a difference, but that seemed a lot. What did I say? 1018, didn't I? Oh, look at that. It was me. It was my technique. 1019 and a half. So they're not a million miles away from each other. We can make something that goes in there, and then something that sits in here to prevent that from happening, and then clamp the two halves together and go on the milling machine. So yeah, that's the plan with the crankshaft anyway. So I'm going to plough ahead with that. I'm going to order a rod kit and make a start, I think, because otherwise we're just never going to get done. Obviously, there's still the matter of getting the engine to fit into the frame, but I don't have the sprocket yet. We're out of stock, so until I get the sprocket, there's no point thinking about doing that, because we need to get the chain line. So I wanted the sprocket to get the chain line accurately. So once that comes in, we can go back onto that. But in the meantime, I think we'll have a look at yeah, we'll plunge into the mysterious depths of getting this crankshaft sorted out. And if we can do one, we can do the others, can't we? But we'll do one to start with, just in case it all goes terrible or we just can't do it. We've not wasted too much money. We've just bought one rod kit rather than, you know, shelling out for two initially. So that is about it so far. Let me just give you a panoramic view of the workshop. You can see what an absolute midden it is. The D7 is still on the ramp from the servicing. As you can see over there, parts washer. I've been cleaning some of the bits, just sort of coming in here for half an hour after work in the evening, just to get a bit of you know, bit of a de-stress, shall we say. Just been cleaning off some of those parts that came in, and down there in that green box over there is the other aerial engine, the one that we've already cleaned up. And as you can see, there's just bits everywhere at the moment. But there you go. That's the way it is. And I've had plumbers and I've had builders around, because I'm having some building work done, hopefully after Christmas, to the house. So I've got that to think about and plan, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, lots of things going on, and not all of it in this workshop. But that's just life, I suppose, isn't it? Right guys, that is it for this one. Short and sweet, I'm afraid, but unfortunately that's just the way it goes sometimes. Don't always have the time to make the progress that we want to make, but moving forward we've got plans, and we should get back into the swing of things before too much longer. Make a start on the crankshafts, and I've got a bit of cleaning to do on all these new bits that have turned up. Nothing like making a rod for your own back, is that you know, create a bit more work for yourself, but it keeps the place ticking over and it keeps me busy, so it's all good fun. As ever, thanks very much indeed to all of you that have subscribed. Thanks very much indeed for watching and for hitting the like button and leaving your comments. I do like to read your comments, and I will see you on the next one. Mind how you go. Bye for now.